Have you ever truly questioned what happens when you die, or have you just accepted the story you've been told? The common narrative is that death is the end, a final full stop, but deep down, does that ever truly sit right with you? There's an unease, a discomfort, even fear surrounding this topic, and perhaps that's not by accident. Could it be that this fear isn't some default human setting, but something carefully instilled within us, something designed to keep us in the dark? Because the truth is, the conventional understanding of death isn't the whole story. Powerful forces have shaped our perception of life and death, and it serves their agenda to keep us in fear and ignorance. They have crafted a narrative that benefits them, one that keeps us from our true potential and keeps us locked into cycles of compliance. They have created a veil, a barrier that separates us from the reality of our existence. So what if, instead of an end, death is actually a transition, a journey into another realm of awareness? Let's face it, the fear of death is a powerful tool. Throughout history, those in power have used the fear of death as a method of control, manipulating us through religion, media, and societal structures. Think about the concept of eternal damnation and how this has been used for centuries to keep people in line. The idea of heaven and hell, judgment and punishment, these concepts are designed to create a fear-based system of obedience. And then there is the media that constantly bombards us with gruesome images of death, painting it as a terrifying and final event, further perpetuating this deep-seated fear. All of this is part of what we might call the fear machine, a system designed to keep us small, compliant, and unaware of our own immense power. However, there is another side to this story, a hidden knowledge that has been actively suppressed. Esoteric traditions, spiritual teachings, and near-death experiences often offer vastly different perspectives on what happens after death, suggesting that consciousness continues beyond the physical body. Concepts such as reincarnation, the existence of spirit realms, and the idea of an expanded awareness after death all present a more empowering view. These alternative perspectives have been pushed to the fringes, labeled as fringe or unconventional, while the fear-based narratives of mainstream thought have become our assumed reality. This lie about death has profound implications that extend far beyond just the moment of physical passing. It shapes the way we live, dictating our actions, our choices, and our relationships. If you believe that death is the end, that this is all there is, it will affect how you live every moment. This belief will limit you. It will make you afraid to take risks, to pursue your passions, or to question authority, because everything becomes so precious and temporary when you believe in this finality. It will keep you playing small, never fully realizing your true potential. You see, the fear of death isn't just about death itself. It's about control, about limiting your life and keeping you powerless. This pervasive fear of death affects our entire society, contributing to a culture of conformity, anxiety, and powerlessness. How many people throughout history have been controlled through the fear of death and the promise of an afterlife that can be taken away? You are constantly told to be subservient, obedient, and compliant to the structures created by those in power, and the promise of a better existence after death is used to ensure this continues. You're encouraged to play it safe, to avoid rocking the boat, and you will see that this mentality is built into every aspect of life, from the shows you watch to the products you buy. The media uses the fear of death to sell you everything from insurance to medications, and the pattern is clear. Fear keeps people compliant. Yet, understanding the true nature of death is essential for breaking free from these chains. And this is why understanding what truly happens when we die is not just an interesting intellectual exercise. It's a key to unlocking individual empowerment and living a more authentic life, a life not dictated by fear. There's a possibility that this hidden truth allows you to take back your power, shifting you from a victim of circumstance to a creator of your reality. This is a journey into self-discovery, a process of awakening and realizing that you have more control than you ever thought possible, especially when it comes to your own death. We're going to challenge those limiting beliefs, expose the hidden agendas that are keeping you small, and help you reclaim your personal power. We will unpack how the conventional religious and societal structures have shaped your perception of death, and reveal how they might be deliberately designed to keep you controlled, in fear of the unknown and the inevitable. We're going to explore how these structures have manipulated information and knowledge to create the narrative that we accept today. The different rules and concepts of the afterlife across various religions should be a red flag to the logical mind, suggesting there isn't one true version of what happens when you die. So what is? We will delve into the possibility that consciousness is not limited to the physical body, and that it may continue beyond death. Imagine if, instead of being a full stop, death is actually just a transition, a shift in awareness to another dimension. What if consciousness is not something that dies with the body, but is a form of energy that simply transforms? Maybe our consciousness is a field that we tap into, not something contained solely within the physical body. And what would that mean for the way we live our lives? We will explore esoteric perspectives, spiritual teachings, and near-death experiences, which all tell a very different story from the mainstream narrative. You'll begin to understand the consistency of what people experience in near-death experiences, and the recurring themes that come up time and time again, hinting at a reality beyond the physical. We will see how ancient traditions have described this continued life as a journey of personal growth, and a step in the evolution of consciousness, not a final judgment or end. And we will discover the power of our own beliefs in shaping the reality that we experience, both in this life and beyond. We will also unearth the pattern of control through fear, a recurring theme throughout history that has been designed to keep people powerless. You will begin to see that the institutions that profit most from your fear and helplessness may be the ones that have deliberately designed the narrative around death. This manipulation often exists at a subconscious level, and you are not even aware of how deeply you have been affected by it. This pattern of fear and control, it doesn't end with physical death. It influences every single moment of your existence. Awareness of this is key to breaking free from its grip. So I ask you, are you still comfortable with the conventional view of death? Can you still accept it after considering the possibility of it being a tool for control? Is it possible that you are not really living your own life, but one that has been deliberately designed to keep you compliant and subservient? We're going to uncover these hidden truths and dive deeper into what really happens when you die. And the key to your own freedom lies in understanding the nature of this manipulation. The reason the masses are so afraid of death isn't natural, it's by design, and the answers are within you. What if, in the next section, we explore this idea that consciousness transcends the physical, and you start to understand how your own reality is being created, and the practical tools that can shift your perspective? So, let's begin to pull back the curtain and examine the conventional narratives about death that we've all inherited. These stories, often presented as comforting truths, actually hold the key to understanding how we've been manipulated. Take the concept of heaven and hell, for example. These aren't just innocent ideas about an afterlife. They are powerful tools of control. Think about the fear of eternal damnation, how that is consistently used to keep people in line, to make them adhere to a certain set of rules, and to ultimately give their power away. The idea of sin and punishment isn't really about moral guidance. It's about social control, about ensuring compliance through fear. Consider how this shapes individual behavior, keeping you trapped in a cycle of guilt and ensuring you continue to seek external validation from the very institutions that created these concepts in the first place. These ideas are instilled in us from a very young age, and you are encouraged to follow the rules that are set for you in order to achieve this heavenly afterlife. How much of your life have you spent trying to get into this heaven based on the rules set out by people in power? And then, when you look at these religious accounts, you find inconsistencies, contradictions, and stories that just don't add up. Each religion has its own version of the afterlife, all with their own very specific rules, regulations, and requirements that often contradict each other completely. How can all of these seemingly opposing viewpoints be considered true? Does it not spark curiosity when there are so many different ideas of what happens to you after you die? It is in these cracks in the narrative that the truth can be found. These contradictions point to something deeper, a manipulation of the truth, and not an honest attempt to guide humanity towards understanding. If there was one truth, wouldn't it be consistent across all sources? Isn't it more likely that these stories are designed to control, rather than to comfort or offer clarity? When you see these inconsistencies, you must start to question everything you've been taught. It's within this questioning, within this doubt, that you reclaim your power. Now, let's look at the historical context. How did these narratives develop, and who benefited from their creation? You'll begin to see that these stories didn't just appear from nowhere. They were carefully crafted, often with specific political and social motivations. The threat of hell has been used for centuries to wield power over people, keeping them obedient to religious authorities. Historically, people were threatened with all kinds of suffering, and only through compliance to the church or its leaders would their soul be saved. Think of the absolute power that comes from holding that kind of fear over an entire population. This fear of the afterlife is not natural, it's manufactured and is designed to control. It becomes clear that the promise of heaven is equally as manipulative. It is a carrot on a stick, designed to keep people compliant, and in a state of constant seeking of external validation, hoping to receive a reward when they die. The institutions that perpetuate these ideas have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo, and they will do whatever it takes to make sure that you are compliant. This pattern of control is not isolated. It's consistent across different religions and time periods. If you look at different cultures across history, you will see the same manipulative techniques being used again and again. Different religions may have different stories and different names for their gods and devils, but the underlying theme is the same: fear, guilt, and external authority. They all have a complex system of rules that you must abide by, with punishment for non-compliance. It's the same old game being played out in different costumes. The lie about death isn't something new or unique to one belief system, but a well-established method of control that has been refined over centuries. It's a system that relies on your ignorance and your fear, that ensures you continue to play your part in this game, keeping the institutions in power and you in a state of perpetual fear. The fear of death becomes a self-perpetuating cycle that benefits all but the individual, and it's essential to recognize this pattern if you want to break free. When you believe in this finality, in this idea of death as the end, it creates a profound sense of powerlessness. This belief encourages passive acceptance of life circumstances. If this is it, then what's the point in trying to make a change? If this is the only life that you get, then what's the point in trying to live it differently? This lack of agency is not accidental. It's by design. It keeps people from questioning, from resisting, and from ever seeking anything more. You might spend your whole life trying to get into heaven or avoiding hell, instead of living the life that you truly desire. The concept of judgment keeps you in a constant state of fear, and you are constantly analyzing your actions to determine whether they are good or bad, according to some arbitrary system. This makes you fear your own mortality and makes it harder to embrace life fully because you are always aware of the impending end. What if you lived your life without these fears? What would that change about how you exist? What would you be able to achieve if you didn't have this limitation? Now, let's transition from the limitations of these conventional beliefs to the empowering possibilities offered by alternative perspectives. Esoteric traditions, those often pushed to the fringes, suggest that death is not an ending, but a transition. These systems introduce the concept of reincarnation, where the soul continues its journey of growth across multiple lifetimes, and how the soul evolves through experience. This completely shifts the idea of finality and suggests a continuation of consciousness beyond the physical. How would you live differently if you knew that this was not the only life you had? The idea of a soul, a non-physical entity that survives death, implies that we are so much more than just our physical bodies, that our essence is not bound to the limitations of the flesh. When you shift from thinking that you are your body to knowing that your awareness transcends your physical form, you also begin to see the limitless possibilities that exist, not just now, but after your physical death. What if our experience on this plane is just one aspect of our eternal journey? What if death was just the next step in our evolution? What if all of our time here is simply preparation for something more? These are the types of questions that esoteric traditions encourage. And this is why it can be so powerful to look at the stories shared in near-death experiences. The consistent patterns in these stories offer a fascinating glimpse into what may lie beyond the veil of death. These aren't just random anecdotes. They are recurring accounts of peace, love, and an expansion of consciousness, and they are consistent regardless of culture or background. People often report feeling an immense sense of calm, a feeling of being completely loved and accepted, and a connection to something greater than themselves. They often encounter deceased loved ones, have their life reviewed, and often return with an understanding that there is more to existence than what we see here. It's hard to ignore these common threads. These experiences support the idea that consciousness doesn't die with the body, but continues on in another form. How would your perspective shift if you knew these stories were the rule and not the exception? These near-death experiences highlight that our consciousness is not limited to the physical. It challenges the idea that consciousness is something that the brain produces, and suggests it is more of a fundamental aspect of reality that is filtered through the brain. What if your brain was not the source of your awareness, but a receiver of it? Like a radio receiver, it takes the signal and transforms it into something that can be understood, but this does not suggest that the signal itself comes from the radio. This idea of a universal consciousness connects us all, as all things may be connected to this one field. When you understand this idea, it begins to become clearer that there is a higher form of awareness that you might access at the point of death. That may be the very foundation of your being, an unlimited source of consciousness. What would it mean to access your true form outside the limitations of the physical body? When you see death as a transition rather than an end, the entire pattern of control starts to break down. You are not going to be judged in the afterlife. You are simply going to move on to another stage of your journey. This understanding shifts you from fear to empowerment. Suddenly, the fear of death begins to subside, and the idea of a peaceful transition starts to replace the idea of a terrible ending. This shift fundamentally changes your approach to life, and you no longer have to be afraid of death, and you become free to live your life as your authentic self. You realize that fear is rooted in ignorance, and that through knowledge and understanding, you can live a more fulfilling life, a life that is driven by passion, not by fear. This perspective shift is a key component of waking up, and this is the truth that has been hidden, the real power that has been suppressed. Now, let's examine how this fear is perpetuated through the media. The constant bombardment of violent images in films, games, and news all desensitizes us to death, while simultaneously creating a subconscious fear and aversion towards it. Think about the last movie you watched, or news article you read. How often is death portrayed in a gruesome or fearful way? This constant exposure is not accidental. It is part of the fear machine, designed to keep you in a state of anxiety. This makes you more compliant, more willing to accept the status quo, and less likely to question the narrative that is being presented to you. You are being programmed, and you might not even be aware of it. How many times do you see death being portrayed as something scary or painful? How has this affected your personal relationship with death and the understanding of your own mortality? The media has become a master of what is now known as fear porn. The media sensationalizes death to maintain viewership, turning the most tragic events into clickbait. They prey on your deepest fears and keep you in a constant state of heightened emotion. The news often focuses on the most violent and shocking events, creating an atmosphere of fear and mistrust. The goal is to keep you watching, to keep you engaged, and ultimately, to keep you afraid. This constant flow of negative information is incredibly draining on your nervous system, keeping you in a state of constant fight or flight. When you live in a constant state of anxiety, it becomes incredibly hard to think clearly or to make rational decisions. This makes you more suggestible and less likely to see through the manipulation, keeping you trapped in the cycle of fear. Are you not starting to see the pattern yet? This media manipulation is not disconnected from the religious and institutional control structures we discussed earlier. These forces often work together to create a cohesive system that keeps you in a state of powerlessness. The media reinforces the religious beliefs about death and the afterlife, making the idea of a final judgment, a hell, and a heaven feel more real. How many times have you seen a religious story being used in mainstream media? How often are the good people saved in film and the bad people punished? When you start to pay attention, you realize the media is constantly reinforcing ideas from religious structures, and it's no accident. It all serves a purpose, and that purpose is to keep you in line, to keep you afraid, and to make you more compliant. They are all playing the same game. This fear machine is not just a simple conspiracy. It's a complex system that operates on multiple levels. It's a web of interconnected forces that are working to maintain the status quo and benefit from your fear. It's not a singular group of people in a back room plotting against you. It's an entire system that is ingrained into the fabric of society. It operates at a subconscious level, making it very difficult to recognize. This is not just about death itself, but about control of every aspect of your life. This fear is not just about the end of life. It's about limiting your potential in the here and now. It limits your ability to think freely and to take risks, and it keeps you locked in a cycle of compliance, living a life that someone else designed for you and not the one that you came here to live. This system continues across generations, with children inheriting their parents' fears and being programmed from a very early age, and the cycle continues. This perpetuates the system, ensuring that people remain trapped in the same fearful existence. This cycle is incredibly effective. People are often unaware that they're part of this carefully designed system. How can you free yourself from a system that you are not aware of? The goal is to keep you from understanding your true power, from realizing that you are more than just a physical body, and that you have the potential to create your own reality. Only through this awareness can the cycle be broken, can you truly become free from its grip, and can you reclaim your power. So, understanding this complex system is the first step towards reclaiming your power. You're not a victim of fate. You are a conscious creator of your own reality. This is an essential perspective shift and a key to freedom. You have the power to choose what you believe, and this includes your understanding of death and the afterlife. You are not a passive recipient of life. If you believe that death is the end, that this is the only life, then this will be your experience. But if you believe that it's a transition, then this too can be your reality. Your thoughts are incredibly powerful, and they shape your experience both in life and potentially in death. What reality will you choose? What would it mean if you started to see yourself as a creator rather than a victim? Your beliefs are like a lens through which you see the world, and they have a very significant impact on what you experience. If you believe that death is terrifying and final, then this will be your reality. But if you believe that it's a peaceful transition into another realm of awareness, then this too can be your experience. Think about those who have had NDEs. Their experiences often vary wildly based on their existing beliefs. What does this tell you about the power of your thoughts? Your beliefs are not fixed, and you have the power to question them, to change them, and to choose those that empower you instead of limiting you. If you can change your beliefs about death, then what other aspects of your reality can you also reshape? So how do you shift from this fear-based mindset to one of acceptance and understanding? Start with practical tools. Start by going within. Meditation, mindfulness, journaling, and developing a deep connection to your own intuition are all tools that can help you navigate the limitations of this perceived reality. Meditation can help you quiet the mental chatter, allowing you to connect with your inner self, that part of you that is beyond the physical. Mindfulness can help you become more present, allowing you to break free from the constant fear of the future and the past. Journaling can be a powerful tool for identifying your limiting beliefs, allowing you to consciously choose to reframe them. And connecting to your intuition will give you a guide, leading you along the path towards your authentic self. These tools are there to assist you in shifting your perspective and beginning your journey. Understanding the truth about death is not just about the moment of physical passing. It's also the key to living a more authentic and fulfilling life right now. The fear of death does not need to be the driving force behind your decisions, and when you take away the limitation, you can truly start to live. By actively choosing what you believe, you are changing your reality, and in doing so, you are also creating a better version of yourself. Understanding that you have this ability will bring an enormous amount of freedom and allow you to finally understand how much power you truly hold. It's about taking ownership of your personal journey and living a life that is aligned with your true self. It is about becoming the author of your own destiny. What if your biggest fear could also be your biggest freedom? What if in the next section we explore the practicalities of how you can do this and truly step into your power as creator? So let's bring all of this together. The core message here is that what you have been told about death, about its finality, about judgment and punishment, is not the truth. It's a carefully constructed lie, a system designed to keep you in fear and ultimately to control you. Death, in reality, is not an end but a transition, a shift in consciousness from one form to another, and understanding this is the key to unlocking your true potential. All of the evidence from esoteric traditions and the common threads of near-death experiences consistently point towards a continuation of awareness beyond the physical body. These concepts stand in stark contrast to the limited views presented by mainstream religions, where fear and guilt are often the cornerstones of their beliefs. How can you now look at these religious teachings with this new information? How does it change what you were taught? Let's explicitly connect the dots of this control pattern. The same fear-based tactics that have been used by various institutions throughout history are precisely the same tactics that are being used to distort the narratives around death. The lie about death is a keystone within this system, a way to keep you in a state of powerlessness. By instilling fear of an unknown, possibly hellish, afterlife, those in power ensure you remain compliant, obedient, and easy to manipulate. This isn't just a coincidence. It's a deliberate strategy that has been repeated across time, across cultures, and across varying structures of power. By seeing how this pattern repeats itself, you begin to understand its true purpose, to keep you subservient to a system that does not serve your best interests. And it's by seeing this that the system begins to lose its power over you. The awareness of the true nature of death involves recognizing that your consciousness, the essence of who you are, is not confined to your physical body. It's a fundamental aspect of existence, an energy that is constantly transforming. This awareness transcends the limitations of the physical and continues far beyond the moment of your body ceasing to function. It's an interconnected field, a universal consciousness, of which we are all a part. This understanding completely transforms our relationship with death and with life itself. When you accept that your consciousness will endure beyond the physical, you begin to see yourself as an eternal being, rather than just a temporary physical entity. The idea that your conscious experience continues beyond death, and that you have the ability to influence what that experience will be with your beliefs, is truly transformative. This understanding also completely changes your perspective. It allows you to recognize that your beliefs about death are not some fixed truth, but rather a set of choices that you have the power to change. The way that you view death, what you believe will happen, and how that makes you feel is something that you have complete control over. Recognizing this, the sense of powerlessness that comes from seeing death as the end will start to disappear. This awareness allows you to become an active participant in the creation of your own reality, both in this life and potentially what lies beyond it. Grasping this will allow you to make choices that align with your true self, living in the way that truly resonates with your soul, rather than according to some externally constructed fear-based narrative. By making this conscious choice, you become the creator, and your reality becomes the creation. The implications of this new understanding extend far beyond your own individual experience. When a large group of people begin to see death as a transition, not an end, this could very well transform society itself. A culture that views death with acceptance rather than fear will become more compassionate, more understanding, and will inevitably become a more loving society. Think about the social issues that are rooted in fear, how they can all be changed by understanding the true nature of death. The acceptance of death means the acceptance of life, and the two become beautifully intertwined. This understanding of the natural cycle of existence could create a massive positive shift in our world. It becomes obvious that the pattern of control that we have discussed is not some distant relic of the past, but an active, pervasive force that continues to shape both your individual and collective experience. It is essential to understand that this pattern is not just something that exists in the media or in religion. It's an influence that is constantly shaping your perception and your decisions. To transcend its influence, you must be able to recognize how this pattern operates within your own life, in the subtle ways that it has taken root in your subconscious mind, and in the behaviors that have become normal and acceptable. Once you understand that these are not natural, but that they are a result of intentional manipulation, only then can you begin to dismantle the entire structure. By shifting your understanding of death, you simultaneously change your relationship with life and your entire approach to it. The fear of death, which you may not even be consciously aware of, limits your ability to take risks, to be authentic, and to pursue your dreams. Without this limitation, you are free to live your life with more joy, passion, and purpose. Death becomes not a threat, but a part of the natural cycle of existence, and something that can be accepted. This new acceptance allows you to live in the present moment, free from the anxieties of the future and the fears of an unknown end. You become empowered to live a life that is truly fulfilling, a life that is in alignment with your unique potential and your personal truth. It is important to understand that the fear of death has kept you in a state of passivity, a cycle of disempowerment that has been perpetuated by a system that does not have your best interests at heart. By releasing this fear, you reclaim your power, allowing you to consciously create a more authentic and fulfilling life. You are not a victim of fate, you are a powerful creator, and understanding your relationship with death will bring an immense amount of freedom into your existence. It's the beginning of a powerful transformation, which starts with the acceptance of the truth. Once you grasp this, your entire perspective will shift, as the fear-based construct starts to crumble. So, let's tie all of this together. At the beginning of this journey, we asked what happens when you die. We explored how religious teachings might not be giving you the whole story, and we saw how mainstream media might be perpetuating a fearful perspective. We delved into esoteric traditions and the experiences of those who have been close to death, discovering an alternative understanding of the afterlife. We uncovered that there is a consistent pattern of fear-based control that has been used to manipulate beliefs about death, and we saw how this affects your current life. Now we arrive at a place where all of these pieces fit together, revealing the full picture. We have seen how the fear of death has been used to manipulate you and to keep you ignorant of your own true nature and potential. This isn't just about the afterlife. It's about controlling your entire life and your experience here on Earth. By keeping you in fear, those in power ensure your compliance and make sure that you remain subservient to the system. We have seen how the manipulation of death narratives connects to a wider pattern of control, a structure that has been used repeatedly throughout history. Grasping this connection gives you the ability to finally break free of its grip and reclaim your personal power. The answer to the initial question, then, is this: death is not an ending. It is a transition, a shift in consciousness from a physical form to a non-physical reality. It's an opportunity for continued growth and expansion, a journey into another realm of awareness. The commonly held ideas about death, the hells and the heavens, the judgments and the punishments, they are all constructs designed to control. The truth has been hidden because the truth gives you power, and a free and empowered person is very hard to control. So let's release the tension of this journey by approaching death with curiosity and acceptance. It's a natural process of transformation, not something to be feared. With this perspective shift, the power that death once held over you begins to diminish, and you are finally able to live your life with more joy and more purpose. Your experience here is no longer limited by the anxieties of the end, and you become empowered to make more conscious decisions, aligning with your authentic self and creating a life that resonates with your soul. The limitations are all removed, and you are free to explore your unlimited potential. With the understanding that death is a transition, many new questions begin to emerge. What might lie beyond this initial shift? What are the spirit realms and other dimensions that have been spoken of? What might your consciousness experience when it is no longer bound by the physical? These are powerful questions that encourage further exploration and inspire a journey into the unknown. What might await you beyond this life? The possibilities are truly limitless. It's essential to remember that your intention and your beliefs will shape your experience of death and whatever lies beyond it. This is your creation, and you hold the power to create a beautiful reality for yourself, both now and in the future. Your current life is a training ground, an opportunity to learn and grow, and to consciously manifest the reality that you desire. By understanding that what you believe becomes your reality, you become the author of your own destiny. How will you use this gift? So, take these ideas, experiment with them, and find out what resonates with you. Use meditation, journaling, and mindfulness to tap into your own inner wisdom, that part of you that is timeless and eternal. This is a journey of self-discovery, and only you can take the steps required to get there. Do not blindly accept any ideas without questioning them. Always trust in your own intuition as your greatest guide. And do not let any external authority diminish your own power. It is yours to reclaim, and it is yours to wield. As you begin to integrate this new perspective into your life, share it with others. The more people who understand the true nature of death, the more we can collectively shift the paradigm, creating a society that is built on love and acceptance, rather than fear and control. And if you wish to explore this topic further, there are many books, podcasts, and other resources that will help you along your journey. And of course, be sure to subscribe to this channel for more content like this, so that you can continue to expand your consciousness and to break free from the limitations that have been placed upon you. The journey is just beginning.